Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And today, Dead to Me is back.
Oh, I needed that.
Me too. I need somebody else's drama to worry about and not my own.
Seriously.
And this is so fun.
Yes.
This is the best kind of fun drama.
Well, because it's like it's a traumedy. It's not,
yes.
It's not quite a dramedy, but it's a traumedy, and I really like that description, which I totally stole from ScreenRant.com. But I love it. It's absolutely correct, and it's exactly right up my mood.
Oh, yes. This was a delightful distraction.
Anytime, because I don't think I really need to be distracted to be able to be distracted by this show, because these two gals together are so much fun to watch, even though it's absolutely heinous things that are going on. I am in love with watching them. It's great.
Yes. Well, they're able to be fun and relatable, even when they're doing horrible things or being awful or having horrible things happen. You can still they're winning. That's to use an old term.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so winning. I just love it.
They are.
Well, and they're neither one of them look old.
No, by no means.
And can I also applaud the ability to have two female leads who are not, in their 20s.
Yes, exactly. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like I have somebody else to look up to again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I mean, it's
not
like, well, let's be serious. It's not like Christina Applegate or Linda Cardellini are that much older than us. I mean, they're not that much older, but they're older enough that I'm like really excited because I have somebody to be like, oh, I want to be like them when I grow up.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt about John Oliver.
Who?
John Oliver, he's a comedian, and he has a really great show on HBO called Last Week Tonight. And he was on Community, he's been on a ton of stuff. He's really, really funny. And I want to be like him when I grow up. And then I found out he's like 4 months younger than I am. I'm like, these kids today, they're going to save us.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I have that experience with sports stars now because, they're all younger than us.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yes. Yeah.
It's all good.
I mean, sports is typically a young person's game.
That it is.
You got to be able to bounce back from it.
That's why I have to be a Tom Brady fan, because he's the only one older than me now. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm a Tom Brady fan for all the right reasons.
And that he's older than you just doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It does hurt that he moved to Tampa. Okay, but I'm going to close that door right now before I get on a whole other bandwagon. Back to Dead to Me.
All right, so we've talked about Dead to Me before. We did an episode that released August 15th of 2019 called Let Me Give You a Hug, that was all about the first episode of the first season of Dead to Me. So we've talked about most of these actors before. So I thought it would be fun to look up like what their first jobs were in entertainment. So we have Christina Applegate as Jen. Her first job was on Days of Our Lives. She was 3 months old.
Really? I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
so
didn't either.
Adorable.
Or creepy.
Well,
Stage moms.
But
I'm sure it was fine.
It worked out.
But, yeah, it worked out. It worked out just fine. And then Linda Cardellini is Judy. And in 1996, she was on a short-lived Saturday morning live-action children's television show based on books called Bone Chillers.
Really?
It was like Goosebumps competitor.
Oh, interesting. I've never seen that.
No, it's like a kid's horror. It's the very light, mild horror that...
Oh, my kids loved Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mine don't like anything scary.
Well, I got one who really doesn't so much, but he definitely read the books. But the other one is sort of obsessed, so, you know.
I resemble that remark. Then we have James Marsden, who plays Steve, and he was on The Nanny in, I don't know when.
Wait, he was in The Nanny?
Yes, he was like a bit part. He was a boyfriend named Eddie of the oldest daughter, Maggie, briefly.
Oh, how about that?
And that's kind of where he got his start. Then we have the neighbor, Susie Nakamura, Karen, the neighbor. And she co-founded Second City in Detroit.
Oh.
So Second City, if anybody's not familiar, I mean, I'm familiar because I have actor friends who live in New York, but it's like a comedy training. And so she founded that in Detroit in 1993. She'd been a stand-up comedian, but that was like her first like big thing that she did was formed this comedic actor training program.
That's so cool.
I thought it was really neat. And then our one newcomer whom we see just briefly is Natalie Morales, who plays Michelle. And she got her start on an ABC family sci-fi dramedy called The Middleman in 2008.
Interesting.
I don't remember that one.
I remember very briefly, but nothing that I watched, really.
Yeah. I thought it was about the time like Pretty Little Liars would have been on.
Maybe so.
So I'm certain that's why she looks so familiar to me. She looks familiar to me because she's been in a zillion things. But I'm sure that's part of the reason why she looks familiar to me is because I'm sure I saw 800,000 advertisements for that show. All right, so we're going to recap season 1 super, super quick.
Okay.
Super fast, just so that we're all on the same page before we recap season 2. And of course, this has season 1 spoilers and spoilers just for the first episode of Dead to Me season 2. We're not going to go beyond that. And there's so much that happens. You were right. You predicted that I would start watching and not stop.
And you made it to the end, didn't you?
And that this morning, it has been 1 week as to the day that we were recording this since it was released on Netflix, and I watched the last one this morning.
That's so funny. Well, it is totally bingeable.
It's so bingeable and so great. So our season 1, super brief recap. Jen and Judy meet at grief group. Jen's husband's dead. Judy says her fiance is dead, but we learn later he's not. That Judy's grief is actually caused by a whole lot of things, a bunch of miscarriages, a breakup, and a whole lot of other things that we don't even learn about for a long time. And also the fact that Judy hit Jen's husband with her car, and that's why he's dead. So that's, part of her grief right there as well. Jen ends up throughout that season learning some pretty hard truths about her husband and a very upsetting reality of her new best friend's actions, which resulted in her husband's death. The season ends with Steve asking Jen for Judy's whereabouts, and Jen's asking him to leave while pointing a gun at him. And the next thing we see, Steve is floating in the pool.
It was a heck of an ending.
Oh my gosh, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it really was.
Holy moly. You Know What You Did is the title of this episode. And it starts right where the first season left off and begins. I thought this was a great choice by the filmmakers to start in just blackness, complete darkness, black, with just Jen cursing into the void. This is all you hear. And I'm like, I really think that sets up the entire first season or the entire second season.
Yeah, it really does.
Sums up the first season and sets the pace for season 2 is this black void of cursing.
Yep. It was on point.
It was great. Jen's younger son, his name is Henry, walks into the kitchen and he's so excited to see Judy. And her older son, Charlie, who's 15, is a little more wary of this situation. Jen's making the kids lunch. Judy's making breakfast for Jen. Jen says that Judy is here to pick up the rest of her stuff, but Jen burned it.
Yeah, like all of it.
Well, except what she ran out of lighter fluid to burn.
Well, yeah.
She would have burned it all.
She would
except
have.
Yeah. So Charlie is a little wary, but really he's just more interested in getting some driving practice time in. He's had his permit a whole week, and Henry wants to know why the pool is covered. Unusual.
Yeah.
It's a hot time of year. Why would the pool be covered? And Jen just straight up says that something died in the pool.
Which was a smart choice, actually. I mean, if you're going to go for the lie and such a big thing, you might as well start with truth. So that it's,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they say it's some kind of animal.
Yeah, they go back and forth. They settle on dog.
Which might be an apt description of Steve.
Might be. I think still go with the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still, not that far from the truth. Then the kids go to school and the women are in the car together. Jen's taking Judy to work. Jen's saying how nobody can know about Steve's death. And Judy says, I know. And Jen, in her caustic manner, I hear you say I know, but I also know you tend to get a little confessy.
It was such a legitimate statement.
It was legitimate and so funny, and I just lost it. That was the first point where I just really lost it, laughing at this dark comedy of this show.
Yes.
It was so good. They decide that going to the police is a bad idea, even though Jen has said that Steve was trying to strangle her because Steve's godfather is the chief of police. And we can already kind of see that Jen's hiding something. She's not telling Judy everything that happened. And Judy's a little naive, a little blind, grief-stricken probably.
I was about to say she's very distracted by her grief. And so she doesn't see the struggle that Jen is having with all of this and why it's weird.
Yeah. But see, we as the audience members, we already hated Steve.
We did.
We already knew he was kind of a huge jerk. And so we can see that Jen's not being quite as forthright. So Jen drops Judy off at work where she's a arts and crafts teacher at an assisted living facility. And Jen makes it very clear she's not interested in being friends. That whatever happened the night before was a thing that had to happen. And whatever they did together, because Jen had called Judy for help, this does not mean that they're friends.
And this is also another reason why Judy is beside herself, because
she
knows that she's been called in to do this horrible thing after, Steve's death, but also she knows that she's really not getting Jen back.
Exactly. So Jen heads home, Judy heads into work, both women end up cleaning up blood. Jen finds blood next to her pool and is cleaning it with bleach, which I was like, hey, somebody's finally smart enough to clean stuff with bleach. In all the shows we watch, they tend to think soap and water is going to do the trick. And I'm like, when it comes to forensics and blood, not so much.
Not so much.
And also, Judy is cleaning off the blood off of herself and she's just throwing it in the garbage can. I'm like, that should be going in the toilet and flushed, honey. It really, really should. But
she's not as smart as Jen in this way. And we see this throughout the episode, that she doesn't have that natural killer instinct.
Right. Well, true. Both of these women, they're trying to wash away not only the blood and the evidence, but the memories of whatever awful things happen. Judy asks her boss if she can stay at the assisted living facility, which she had done before she lived in Jen's guest house. Mm-hmm. But they're full. Despite her assurances to her boss to the contrary, Judy doesn't have anywhere to stay.
Yeah, and she's freaking out.
Yeah. Back at Jen's house, she's removing security cameras from her backyard when her neighbor, Karen, comes over and says, my husband's out of town again. Why don't you come over and drink some orange wine with me? It's supposed to be good for menopause.
She is the most Karen ever.
She is, but she fits with the clueless Karen stereotype.
Yes, she
I
really
would say.
does.
Yeah. She sees Jen's really not interested until Karen starts talking about how, well, I'm not surprised you're not happy with those cameras. Basically telling her, your cameras are terrible. You should see mine. They're amazing. They can see the whole street. And suddenly Jen's super into that orange wine. Let's have some orange wine.
Which, by the way, ew.
We'll get there. I have some information about orange wine.
I would not doubt that.
While they're drinking the orange wine, we see that indeed Karen's cameras are stellar and she never deletes anything because it all goes up into the cloud storage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Judy's at work and the room she was hoping to stay in was her friend Abe's, which is a whole layer and level of confusing and heartbreaking and problematic that I'm not even going to touch on.
Okay.
She wanted to stay in Abe's room. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not mentally prepared to talk about that bit. But she's looking for something in that room. There's something there that she wants, and she's looking for it when Michelle and her mother, Flo, arrive. This is Flo's new room, and they argue a little bit, and Judy excuses herself. She ends up calling TKG Arts, which was a gallery that Steve had set up for her to showcase her rather impressive art.
Yeah.
It was really a front for money laundering. And we're assuming that she's calling to listen to the answering machine message to hear Steve's voice.
Yeah, it's a very sad thing.
It is sad. Michelle then brings her the box that she was looking for.
Yes. The box
Michelle
between the mattress.
Uh-huh, yes. It's a cigar box, and it contained some marijuana, some car keys, a drawn picture of Abe that Judy drew for him. Then we see Jen letting Charlie practice driving. And when he gets cut off at this really dangerous intersection, Jen becomes really angry. So she's going to start a petition for a stop sign. And Charlie tells her she's overreacting. And then she gives him some excellent advice. Don't tell a woman that she's overreacting.
Ever.
Just don't do it. Ever. Later, she's looking at how to actually make this petition happen. She's distracted by her security footage with Steve. And I'm like, oh, we get to see more. And what we see is her lower the gun.
Yep. Which was what?
Exactly. So the car keys in the cigar box were to a car that used to be Abe's. Judy knows where it is, I guess. I mean, I don't quite remember. I think she might have taken him for a drive in that car, so she knew where it was. But anyway, she goes to find it, and she drives to TKG Arts, which is all chained up, and her art is inside, unattainable. Jen calls Judy under the guise of returning a bracelet that was left there that morning. And then the next thing you see is them sitting together watching The Facts of Life, which is kind of a nice callback to season 1.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Jen learns that Judy was just going to stay in Abe's car for a while and that it wasn't that big of a deal because Judy had lived with her mom for a year or so in their car when Judy was a child. And then they have this kind of touching exchange, commiserating. Jen says, I didn't realize I had it so good when I was just like regular, unhappy. Judy says, I would kill for some down the middle depression right now. Just some real good deep dissatisfaction.
They are describing themselves so well. I totally felt them in that moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought it was so insightful. What a nice way to give them insight into themselves. Mm-hmm. So Judy really believes that Jen acted in self-defense, but we have a flashback. We see Jen's perspective that Steve was talking bad about Judy, making threats against Judy's safety, and Jen ended up beating Steve with a ceramic bird, one that Judy had given to Henry at his father's memorial that they did on his birthday a long time ago. And Jen invites Judy to go ahead and stay again at her house because she's guilty.
Yeah, it's interesting to see it switch roles.
Mm-hmm, yes. Following morning, Charlie is getting a ride to school with Parker. And yes, she has a driver's license. And the doorbell rings. And who's standing there? Steve.
Or so
and
we
that's
think.
The end of the episode. And I could not wait the 5 seconds for the next episode to start.
Oh, no.
I had to hit next episode. So I'm like, how long into this episode do I have to wait to find this out?
Yep.
What is going on here? Not that long.
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was great.
Just let the next one start.
Yeah, do not stop there. We'll stop there today, but do not stop there.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going.
Just so like 3 minutes into the next episode, and you'll be able to breathe again. So CNN Entertainment had a really great review of this back May 6th of 2020. They got a preview of the show, Lucky Brian Lowry. A funny thing happened between Dead to Me's very good first season and its second. The dark Netflix comedy became even better. Absolutely fair.
Yeah, right on. It's really amazing. I mean, this type of comedy is not done well a lot, and it's not done at all often. And so to do this and nail it, and it's just great. It's just great.
Yes, it really is. And as amazing as Christina Applegate is, he specifically calls out Linda Cardellini. Mm-hmm. Because he says she's doing some of her best work in making what could be an irritating character sympathetic and predictable.
Yeah, that's so true.
And you think you don't really like predictable characters, but we all like the people in our lives to be predictable.
Well, yeah, we want people to be, well, at least on a show. We want the characters, I should say, to be unpredictable enough to keep us interested, but predictable enough that we don't feel confused. And It's hard to nail that, like, essence one way or the other, but certain personalities are harder to pull off. And you're right, the personality that Judy has in this show is like, it could be very frustrating. She could just be the pig pen of the situation, but instead it's like extremely interesting.
Yes, I agree. All right. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Is It True?
Are you ever afraid to talk about something? Do you avoid certain topics, maybe with certain people? Like your racist Uncle Frank. Sorry, Frank, it's true. Do you want to learn how to have better conversations, increase compassion, and build bridges, not walls? We Don't Talk About That with Lucas Land is the podcast where we do talk about that with me, Lucas Land. Get it wherever fine podcasts can be found.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us through that quick break. Now we have Is It True? Well, the women start the episode out by telling Jen's son, Henry, that the pool is covered because something died in it. And I was like, how worried should we be about dead animals in pools?
Oh, unfortunately. Yes, you should be worried about that.
Well, you should be worried about finding them and having to dispose of them. But most dead animals in a pool do not pose a health risk to swimmers, according to the CDC.
Well, I can believe that because you know what? Chlorine, that stuff is strong.
Right.
But I mean, if you had a lot of blood in there and stuff, I don't know.
You would want to shock the pool for sure.
For sure.
Your filter will clean all that stuff out. I thought about that too. I'm like, I bet they haven't changed those pool filters.
Ugh.
They really need to change those pool filters because they're full of Steve's DNA.
Yeah, like nasty, gross.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think hot tubs are a bigger problem.
Oh, because the water's warm.
The water is warm, but people tend to leave the top off sometimes, and then they throw it on, or like kind of we do sometimes. We got a new top for our hot tub, but the buckles don't match where the old buckles are. But
dear.
Did we ever fix that? No, because it's heavy enough. We got a good heavy one.
Right, and your kids aren't little.
And my kids aren't little, but I do personally know someone who accidentally had a hot tub lid that was not just right, and a puppy dog jumped in and couldn't really get out, and then the dog was missing. Like they put up flyers for a while, and it was like over the summer, so they didn't. And then they first cold front that came through, they cracked that hot tub, and there was the dog.
Oh, that's horrifying.
And I remember hearing about those stories, but I know this person firsthand. Horrible. So you do have to be careful about the tops on hot tubs, but I don't think you have to worry so much about the pool.
Yeah, not so much.
Not so much.
And chlorine will kill most anything, any germs carried by an animal within minutes.
Yeah. It's pretty quick.
In a pool.
The only problem is if you're like us and you have an above ground pool, because we live basically in an area that would just sink in if we started digging into it. But the pool is above ground, so you don't have that natural steps like you do in a regular pool. We have steps and stuff, but they're not as visible or easy. So small animals can jump in and they can't swim out, like a squirrel, or like say a frog jumps in there and they can't hop out. So they make little attachments, and it's a little escape ramp.
Yeah, it's like a little inflatable thing that, holds on to the side of the pool so they can swim to it and climb out.
If you have a little froggy, and they can jump out. So.
Yeah. The only exception to that, to the you shouldn't worry too much if you find a dead animal in the pool, is raccoons.
Oh, really?
Yes, because they carry a parasite frequently called Basilosaurus, and it's a roundworm parasite that is common in raccoons, not particularly dangerous to them, but when people are exposed to the eggs, which end up in the excrement of the raccoons, that it can be very dangerous. So if you were to swallow a few of these eggs and it went through your GI tract, it would be a mild illness or not a thing at all. But if there's a lot of them, it can cause a severe disease that affects the nervous system or eyes.
Ooh, gross.
Yeah. So it's really not good. So if you have a pool, or you have a pool in your neighborhood or something like that you are concerned about, and there's a raccoon in the pool, there's some guidelines on the CDC website that you should follow about replacing the filters and running the pump for a certain amount of time. And you may want to have the animal tested by animal control.
Oh, gross.
To make sure. Yeah. So if you ever find a raccoon, let's hope you don't find a raccoon in your pool.
Yeah, let's just hope not.
No raccoons in the pen. They're so cute, little trash pandas.
They are so adorable. I just don't understand. Yeah. I feel like we just need to domesticate them. And you know what? Animal rights activists, you can just come at me, because I want a raccoon as a pet. They are sweet and adorable.
But if you're concerned, if you're, go to a neighborhood pool and you see a dead raccoon in it, and you want to make sure that people are cleaning the pool appropriately, I will post a link to the CDC recommendations for you on our social media. You can find that on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod. You can find us on Facebook, Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. Or you can send me an email, killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll shoot that link right back to you so you can make sure that people clean that pool appropriately.
Yeah.
No, we don't need any injuries caused by raccoons.
Yeah, no, that's nasty.
Orange wine.
Orange wine.
I would say health benefits are about the same as red wine.
Okay, so not more,
but without as much. Yeah, no, definitely not more so, because it's not really made from oranges. It's white wine made the way they make most red wines, with the skin and seeds on. So normally for white wines, they remove the skins of the grapes before they make the wine. And this is they leave the skins and seeds and everything in it and make a white wine that is made in the same style as a red wine.
And it turns out orange?
Yes, because of that there's more tannins and stuff in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because of the skins are still there. So, antioxidants and all that kind of stuff, fighting free radicals and whatever.
But not that much more than red wine then.
Oh, no, not really. I mean, it might be less likely. It's different than red wine.
Oh, okay.
Because there's substances in red wine that can cause people to have migraines and severe effects from it. And those would be less or negated by the process that makes orange wine, because they're using a different type of grape.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's what you'd expect pretty much. But Karen says she heard it was good for menopause. And I would say probably not, because one of the top 6 foods that you should avoid during menopause, according to Everyday Health, is alcohol.
Oh, makes it worse, huh?
It makes it typically much worse. So really moderate to light alcohol consumption. You can still have a glass of wine or cocktail here and there. And of course, it's different with everybody. If it makes it worse for a person who's going through menopause, they should avoid alcohol.
Right.
But just know that it can make it worse. Some other things that are bad for people going through menopause are processed foods, spicy foods, fast food, fatty meats. Makes sense. Oh, and this one's going to hurt you a little bit. Caffeine.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Because, you know how most people are made up of 80% water. Jackie's made up of like 60% caffeine and then 20% water.
Yes. And that's mediated, fully by my coffee drinking.
Karen talks about the resolution on her cameras. Really, resolution just makes a big difference. I mean, I could go into all of it, but I really can't, because the technology changes. You're getting better cameras for less all the time, but at least at this point in time, May of 2020, the system that Karen has at her home is indeed an expensive one.
Do we know which one it is?
No, but it was a 4K camera.
Right, like that's a little excessive. I don't know, but yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, and not all 4K cameras are made equally.
No.
Like if you have like 180 degree vision instead of a single one forward facing, you can have a 4K camera that's resolution still not good enough to get like license plates and stuff like that. So
Right. The key really is more cameras are better than one camera trying to reach a wide area.
Right.
Always.
Yes.
But the night vision thing is very important. That's super important. And most of your basic cameras will just do that now. They just have that. And so makes it easier.
Your video doorbells, for the most part, you're not going to get great footage from them, but they're going to have some sort of night vision, so you can at least get a face of somebody who's close by.
Right.
It still runs. is a website that had information about how to petition for a stop sign. So if you're curious about that process, basically what you do is you end up at a city council meeting with a bunch of signatures and say, here are the reasons why we need this. But their first step really made me laugh. Begin your petition by writing a statement. This is a summary of your grievances. It just made me laugh so hard to think about. I have grievances with this particular corner.
Yeah. Well,
and it needs a stop sign as punishment.
Grievances. That's funny. Yeah, actually in San Antonio, you can download the app. It's 311, like SA 311, and you can actually go in there and sort of request certain things like stop signs or whatever and kind of start that process. They've made it pretty quick.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee that it'll get done.
None.
I know that actually for a fact.
Oh, have you tried it?
My husband's office has, because there's a corner near their office that there's been probably 4 times a year. There's a fairly severe accident because they need another stop sign there, and they've been asking for years for a stop sign there. And I don't know what kind of politics are making that impossible, but I think there must be some kind.
That is so interesting. I wonder what would prevent a stop sign. I don't know anything about that. Civil engineering. I only know when it doesn't work well because then my road rage is through the roof. But I really have no idea what it takes and why one intersection does not have a stop sign in one place and why this one does. That makes no sense to me.
I don't know either. Anyway. Psychology break.
All right.
So you get the feeling that Jen is confessing, but she's not confessing everything.
Yeah, you get that, it started off with the whole tell a lie by telling the truth, and this is exactly what Jen is doing.
Yes, that's exactly it. And you can tell she's really struggling with something. And that's because, according to Art Markham on Psychology Today, that partial confessions may actually be worse than a full confession or not confessing at all.
You mean it's more distressing on the individual?
Yes.
Wow.
That either a full confession can give you relief, or no confession can give you less accountability.
Yeah, more resolve.
But a partial confession where you didn't confess the whole thing is actually really more damaging than not confessing at all.
That makes sense. I mean, it creates that web of lies that you have to kind of hang out in. It takes a lot of mental energy to lie, actually. It takes a lot of mental energy, and it's wearing, and so eventually you burn up all your psychic energy trying to think about the lie, and then other parts of your life just fall apart, and
Yes, they create negative feelings, and it's uncomfortable. Jen seemed kind of unreasonably angry about all of the poor drivers. Leon Setzler on Psychology Today says that anger always makes sense.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I was right up with her, because I'm telling you, when I hit that place where I'm angry at drivers or things like that, it is 0 to 60, pun intended. You know? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yes. Well, and it may seem like it's not logical, but it is, because the angry person is already frustrated, disappointed, irritated by something. Now, it may be a person, it may be a situation, it may be something that they experienced earlier, has nothing to do with you, but those people, when people fly off the handle, it's because they're upset with you because of something you've done in their past and they didn't feel like they could express it to you, or they're frustrated with a situation that has nothing to do with you and you just happen to be the one catching it. Or the person that you're expelling your anger onto may have done something to remind you of something that either in your past history with them or within another situation enraged them, and that's really upsetting. Dr. Seltzer has some interesting thoughts about that. If you find yourself the target of what you feel might be inappropriate anger or anger that's doesn't seem warranted with the situation, rather than hitting back, which is probably our natural reaction, well, you're not so perfect yourself, whatever, or defend yourself or just leave the situation, you can ask the angry person, you can say, I'm so sorry that I made you upset. I really don't understand why. Can you tell me why that made you so upset? And it can really catch the person off guard, give you some insight into them, give them a chance to diffuse their anger and really recognize why they're so angry at a situation where it seems unwarranted. But their anger is really justified always.
Well, it always makes sense. You just may not know all the reasons.
Right, exactly.
And, yeah, it happens a lot. People they go off the handle on something, and it's really because of all these outside influences. Or it might, like you said, be a buildup of situations to an event. Sometimes a person doesn't realize how what they've done is hurtful at a high level.
Yes.
And so, you have to know how to handle it when it feels like it's out of control, because even though it might be more likely that they're angry at a different situation or a buildup of situations or whatever, there's still a chance that maybe you don't realize what you've done is as hurtful as it was. And so asking the question is de-escalating, because it is also a show of humility.
Yeah, I'm willing to change.
Yeah, and nothing is going to hurt somebody more than an assumption that their anger doesn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
That's hard, because you might be right, but nothing hurts more than that assumption, because it's absolutely pompous, And so you have to come into the situation willing to listen to it, knowing that maybe likely it's not really you, but maybe it was you. or maybe it was you and it has something to do with something that they've been particularly sensitive about, but maybe you should have known that. There's a lot of different ingredients to the situation. And so asking the question is de-escalating, because it allows you to investigate what those were.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Asking the question is opening the lines of communication. And that is really the best thing you can do in any relationship, romantic, friendship,
even business
work.
Relationships. Yeah, yep. Absolutely.
All of it.
Super helpful. So what was amazing to me about Jen's partial confession thing going on that we only really understood towards the end of the episode, we got all these clues, right? She's dropping these clues that she's not really telling us the whole story. And it really made me think of Paul Ekman, because he is this researcher who did his life's work on microexpressions. And if you haven't seen it, there's a show called Lie to Me that was on a long time ago, and it's his book that this show was based on. And if you can learn to spot microexpressions, you can kind of be a human lie detector, right? It's really kind of interesting.
That's fun.
And his life's work kind of shows how these basic emotions are actually universal. They're beyond cultural differences. And the expressions they make are an evolutionary link, not just cultural. There are some cultural things that might change it a little bit, but at its base, there are some things that people do that you can learn to control. But in general, we just make these little micro expressions. They're so fast.
Wow.
They're hard to detect. And then when people are lying and talking about things, they might act out an emotion, but there may be something they're not doing fully correctly. So for instance, when people are happy and smiling, when they're legitimately happy and smiling, there's a certain type of smile that is legitimate. Okay. And if you're faking it, it's hard to fake it. It's hard to fake that particular thing, but it's a micro thing. It's hard to detect, but once you get used to it, you can kind of start to see oh, that person is not legitimately happy right now. And so it's a very interesting thing. Well, these actors and actresses like Christina Applegate have to learn these things. And I think when we are watching a show like this and we feel it, we get it so quickly and it's so subtle. I'm like, you know what? Hats off to her, because I think she pulled off just 1,000 different micro expressions throughout the whole thing, but in such a way that we got it, even if you aren't like trained in it. So I was absolutely in love with it. And you know what?
Yeah.
You can go to pauleckman.com, and we have to post this, and you can you can try. You can train to spot micro expressions. Like
What?
It'll take you through different expressions and see if you caught different things and whatnot. It's really super fun.
All right. I would suggest that instead of going bowling or going to the movies or any of those things that, you could maybe potentially do some places now that some quarantine is being lifted, maybe stay home and learn how to become a human lie detector.
Seriously?
Because it'll serve you well your whole life, long after you've forgotten that movie or what your bowling score was.
Right.
And, you're not exposed to any potential pathogens.
Exactly. Help out the community. You know? Oh man, I it's just super fun. And if you haven't watched Lie to Me, unfortunately, it was kind of I don't feel like it was a short run series, but it's super interesting. And the fact that it's really rooted in legitimate research, and
so cool.
and Paul Ekman helps, with it. It's a really cool show to watch. So so you have to take a look at that. He does have a book. It's written for the public, so it's easy to digest. But it's called Emotions Revealed. And that is the synthesis of all his efforts throughout the years. And it's way cool.
Super cool. All right, now real life.
Real life.
Charlie, at the very beginning, Jen's oldest son, Charlie, talks about their relationship between the two women, kind of in romantic terms.
That's true.
Right? Like he talks about a breakup. They broke up. Oh, they got back together. I thought I wanted to talk about like friendship breakups because they're a real thing that totally happens, but it's not really something that we talk about very much.
No, we kind of dismiss it.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to navigate because you feel like you should be good at this and that friendship should be easy for adults, and it's just not. So Time has a really great article about why ending a friendship can be worse than a breakup. And they have some interesting insight that like a romantic relationship, when you have a breakup, which is normal and expected for a lot of relationships, you're expected to go through breakups, that it gives you a real sense of closure. And we just don't have that when we have a friendship breakup because we don't typically call it a breakup and it's kind of difficult to navigate. It's okay if a friendship isn't working anymore to go ahead and end it. We tend not to communicate our expectations in a friendship because you might have a level of expectation and they have a different level of what they think that they should be bringing to the relationship or what you should be bringing to the relationship. And it's not something you typically have a conversation about.
No, we don't.
And if you do, and you guys aren't on the same page, it can be really uncomfortable. And in romantic relationships, we tend to have a parameters that we set up. You might agree that friends that you had before the relationship will be your friends and not their friends anymore. Or you might split restaurants so you don't run into one another or whatever. That's not the kind of thing that happens when you have a friendship breakup. You have a grief over it. We expect you to grieve over a romantic relationship ending. It can be difficult to allow yourself to grieve the end of a friendship. But, I would just say if a relationship's not working for you, it might be worth having a conversation with that person, either to change it so that it works better for both of you, so it's healthy for both of you, or because it's not working and you need to no longer be there. And then at least you both have this sense of closure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just don't ghost, man. Don't ghost.
No, because that's That's damaging. Teresa DiDonato talked about in Psychology Today, she was specifically talking about romantic relationships, but I think her information that she has about on and off again relationships would apply to friendship as well, particularly how we see it with Jen and Judy and Dead to Me is they're kind of on again, off again.
Yeah.
And that's really, it's bad for you. On again, off again relationships, they're toxic to your personal well-being. If it's not working, there's a reason why, and you might be able to break up, especially if one of you's moving or something like that. You kind of break up and allow that to give you the space to examine your relationship from afar to see what was working, what wasn't, and then deciding whether you're going to get back together again. But the whole on again, off again tends to be this gradual separation. And, you have this roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
And it's the same with friendships. You feel great. You're so happy. And then they make you angry. And then you're sad. And then you're not seeing each other. And, this kind of gradual separation that when it happens, now that's not like friends who go for a long time without talking. And then they pick up where they left off. And that's fine. That's just a different type of relationship.
Right. But we're talking about drama.
Right. When you're breaking off a relationship with a person because it's not meeting your needs, examine why you left that relationship.
Right.
It's important.
Yeah. Especially if you're going to start talking again, you need to kind of know where you're at with that so that you don't make a mistake in how you move forward, But then, I think about, Judy and Steve, honestly.
No.
Right? That was on again, off again for all the wrong reasons. And, it was toxic. And then there's Judy and Jen, who it's drama, but that's some legit stuff going on. And so on some level, I'm kind of like, I get that.
Yeah.
But why Judy returns to Steve, I don't get.
No, I don't get that either.
No.
Because there's a little self-loathing, I think, there. Mm-hmm. So the advice that Jen gives her son about not telling a woman that she's overreacting, that's a really valuable, excellent advice. In fact, Bustle had an article, your partner may be toxic if they say these 8 things. And number 2 is you're overreacting. No, that's called gaslighting.
Right, as it is. Exactly.
Yeah, telling you that your emotions are invalid because they don't see the situation the same way. It's like textbook gaslighting. No, don't do it. They're reacting how they react to a desperate, difficult situation or because of other things that have happened in the relationship previously.
Yeah.
They're not overreacting. Try and learn how they are reacting appropriately within what's been happening.
Well, and the thing is, the whole idea of somebody overreacting is, there is some valid truth to it, right? Because really in the moment, if you are screaming out at somebody who had a very minor offense to you, and it's really because you're angry at something else, you really are overreacting to that situation. It's just valid because of what you're bringing into it. It's valid because you experience it, but it's also rational because of all of the other ingredients that went into it. The rational, really the description is that, well, you took it out on somebody else. Okay,
right.
We get that, right? So you have to be careful. It is true. We can overreact to a situation by bringing in things from our past, or our lives that are in other areas and dumping them all on one person, and we kind of overreact to a situation, Problem is that Well, like with the mental disorders, that can be common. People are super sensitive or vigilant, or the reason why that they respond to a situation might really not be rational, And then what happens is it gets conscripted by people who want to use that as an excuse to why they're never wrong. That's why it's gaslighting. Right. Not because it never really happens, but because people use it as a scapegoat to be able to say, whatever, not my problem, man. That's not cool, all right? So, like, the rule of thumb is I can tell you that I'm overreacting. You can't tell me that I'm overreacting.
Well, and that's particularly good advice for Charlie, because if he's going to be a good partner, if he feels like his partner is overreacting, he should want to know why.
Right, exactly.
And want to help them mitigate whatever situation is causing them to overreact.
Exactly.
Now, he's 15. I don't expect him to do that for his mom.
No, but that's where he's going to learn it.
Right. But she's the one who's got to tell him, hey, don't be a gaslighting jerk.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Last thing. Judy had lived in her car with her mom when she was a kid. And really, sadly, this is not at all uncommon. The Desert News had an article from October of 2019, fairly recent. People who can't afford rent are living in their cars, and cities aren't sure what to do about them. Because it's just really a hard situation. Do you legislate them so that they're not welcome anywhere, or do you give them a safe place to land so that they can be protected and cared for when they're down on their luck? Because there is not one state in the United States that has an adequate supply of affordable rental housing.
No, it's out of this world, imbalanced now, and it's just it's horrible. And some cities are allowing organizations with parking lots to sign up as a safe park area. There's a lot of that comes with it, unfortunately. It's just, you'd like to think that you're just helping people like Judy, but it does bring in other things. And that's so hard because as a campus that allows it, you need to be prepared for all of the things that it brings in as a protection for everyone there, right? Like, that's just normal. You have to do that, but it makes it hard. But at least some cities are allowing people to sign up as a safe park and then helping them procure the resources necessary to allow that to happen on their campus, But it's definitely a difficult thing to do.
Yes, it really is. And they have a whole section in this article about safe parking, where people can go and not be harassed and interrogated, told to move, but they're also sort of patrolled,
right,
to make sure there's not human trafficking, selling drugs, stealing, all those things that can go along with being homeless without having a safe place to stay. There's a safe place to stay. There's a lot of victimization that can happen. And so, like you mentioned, there are a lot of parameters, but they brought up this Lake Washington United Methodist Church in Kirkland, Washington, has their parking lot open to be a safe space. And they have volunteers who go early in the morning so that children can get ready for school. And then also they go in the evening to allow them to have access to Wi-Fi and refrigerators and kitchens and things like that. It's such a difficult situation.
Yeah, super tough.
Mm-hmm. And they talked specifically in Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Washington area. They said that 15 to 20% of people living in their cars are aged 58 or older, and 20% of them are families with children. So it really is affecting groups of people of all ages, and some of our most vulnerable.
Yeah, it's so sad.
It is sad and it's tough. And, really an affordable housing situation is something that needs to be, particularly now when we have, shelter in place orders. You can't really shelter in place in your car.
Yeah, no, there's really nowhere to go. And that's very difficult. And it's a very multifaceted problem. So it's a multifaceted solution that's going to have to be very comprehensive. But I am always, encouraged by the cities who are trying to do those things, to open up those areas and do those programs and then also do the programs with the community, like supporting other groups and try to just lend a legitimately helping hand.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because there are some people who are happy enough living in their car that's a chosen situation, but that's really the minority.
Very much so.
Of people. I mean, there's people, they lost their job. They couldn't find another one, which means they couldn't pay their rent. And, at least I can pay my car note still.
Right.
And there are a lot of people who work and still can't afford a place to live.
Right.
I'll post an article about it, but Marco Rubio's cousin was an older lady, and she had raised a bunch of kids and was, now on her own and moved to a different area, I think in Utah, and found that she couldn't find a job that paid enough for her to have even an apartment. And she didn't want to ask her kids for help because it's too much. She didn't want to be a burden too soon.
Oh.
Isn't that sad?
That is really sad.
So, but that article will be on our social media. So next time we like the funny things. So the best based on a board game movie ever. Clue. 1985 comedy murder mystery. Madeline Kahn, Tim Curry. So many great faces. So campy, so fun, lighthearted, murdery.
Yes, and you know what? Just everybody needs a little Tim Curry.
Mm-hmm.
I need a lot of Tim Curry in my life. Everybody needs a little Tim Curry.
At least a little.
Life. At least a little. Yes. So if you can't handle Tim Curry at his full Tim Curryness, this is a great movie for you.
Yeah. Yes.
This is a great
It's like Tim Curry introduction.
Yeah. It's Tim Curry light. It's a little.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We know you make a choice when you listen to us, that we don't just come on the radio, and we thank you so much. Tell a friend, because it's way more fun when you can listen with a friend. You can send us an email. We can be your friends too, and send us an email if you want to talk about something. If you could rate and review, that really does help us get found. Give us 5 stars if you can. And if you can't, tell us why. We want to make this an enjoyable experience for you. So join us next time. And until then, be safe. Wash your hands.
All right. See you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Bum, bum, bum. Da, da, da.